Phase 1 of jisc's Virtual Research Environments programme funded 15 projects across the UK. The projects, located in departments across the research spectrum, all sought to investigate the technological challenges surrounding virtual research environments, or VREs, each developing a VRE suitable for use in its own academic domain. VREs can help researchers of all disciplines to manage their increasingly complex workloads by providing a framework of resources to support the underlying processes of research on both small and large scales. VREs have their roots in virtual learning environments, or VLEs, which have become increasingly common across further and higher education institutions. Most universities and colleges use either commercial VLEs such as Blackboard or open source frameworks such as Sakai to coordinate and assist with administration and teaching and learning. VREs, however, offer an extra dimension of functionality and tools and allow users to really begin to engage with and collaborate in the collection and exchange of their data by giving the end user the capacity for analysis and cross-communication, all within one application. In Oxford, IBVRE, the Integrative Biology VRE project team, sought to build a VRE demonstrator to support the Integrative Biology Research Consortium with work that was being carried out in the field of heart modelling.
The project was open-ended, so the end user was essentially the whole of the computational biology research community. But what we did when the project started is we went around the consortium and we interviewed people, sort of a representative sample of the community, and we also ran a focus group at their annual workshop, and we tried to understand what their high-level requirements were and put those requirements in some sort of order in terms of priority. And what came out of that is we identified a couple of groups that we wanted to work with, and we decided that the biggest thing that we needed was to develop essentially a repository of experiments for those two research groups. The design methodology we used involved the end users very much in the process. So we actually went over to the States twice, where we had 2 week-long workshops where we got people in a room together to sort of understand how their research process worked at a very detailed level. In the case of the first people we visited, that was James Eason's lab at Washington Lee University in Virginia. He mainly works with undergraduates. These people, they're very good on biology, they're biology majors, but they don't necessarily know the technical intricacies of how to run simulation experiments. And they wanted a point-and-click interface that would allow them to very simply run these experiments without needing to know how to set up compute resources and all the rest of it. Whereas that the other lab we visited, which was in New Orleans, which was Natalia Trianova's lab, they were a much more technical group, made up of graduate students and postdocs. And they wanted a much more general VRE that would allow them to do many different types of experiments.
At the University of Hull, the Political Discourse project team wanted to explore the potential of working within an existing open-source virtual learning environment framework, Sakai, and tailor it to suit their own needs. Along with investigating use of the access grid, they wanted to see how the humanities, and specifically the history of political discourse, could benefit from working within a VRE.
We think it's perhaps a distinctive feature, and maybe even a unique feature of this particular VRE project, is that 5 professional historians who were instrumental at all stages in designing, or at least in saying what our requirements were and what we wanted out of the VRE. So the project has been directed on a day-to-day basis by historians to meet their own perceived needs. Our first major sort of user requirements exercise was conducted in the first spring, using Sakai as a basis. It was a sort of effectively a gaps analysis. What does Sakai currently do? What do we need it to do to support the sort of research that we want to achieve? Essentially, we had a day's event where we brainstormed what we would need. We looked at what Sakai already did, and then we sort of tried to find ways in which we might, either ourselves or knowledge of what was going on within the Sakai community, those gaps would be bridged. Essentially, our needs were very straightforward: communication tools of various sorts and a collaborative authoring tool. The collaborative authoring tool, the wiki, didn't at that time exist within Sakai, but I believe it wasn't very long into the life of the project that we knew one was being produced, and so I think that definitely tipped the balance in favour of staying with Sakai. We took technologies which were available, we tweaked them to some extent according to our needs, but we didn't really create technologies de novo ourselves. We took what was available, we put them in the hands of practicing historians, and we said, go play.
At the University of Manchester, ISME, the integration and steering of multi-site experiments to assemble engineering body scans project, looked at a lightweight collaboration solution for multi-site engineering experiments and how they could be facilitated through the implementation of a VRE.
I've been working at large facilities with a large group of students and postdocs and also industrialists and instrument scientists, all working together to undertake experiments. Those experiments might last for 72 hours non-stop, and so they're very pressurized and you have to make decisions very quickly. And what I was aiming to do was to try and make sure that we could all work together, even if we weren't all in one place. We were very keen to try and make sure that this could be used in situ. And that would include the scientist at the beam station, it would include the scientist at the university, but also it could include the professor or the industrialist at home. And so we had to target on 1 or 2 megabit bandwidth, and that really was a very educating experience because we had to then cut down and refine what we were going to provide to make sure that we could get that through that kind of portal. And that worked very well because it's no good saying to someone who's working late at night, well, ring up your supervisor, get them into Manchester, get them into a conference suite and we can sort the problem out. You really want to be able to say, right, we can ring up our supervisor, let's get them down to their office in their house and use a simple broadband line. And that was something we achieved, but it did require quite a discipline in our approach.